everyday witches emerge from the shadows of secrecy. Broom closets are flinging open and witches are taking flight. Whether you are hiding in your cozy closet or flying with pride, stay for a spell as Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon and her guests share magical moments, stir the cauldron, and debunk misinformation and misconceptions about paganism, witches, and our wonderful world of magic.
Hello, everyone. I am joined today by a beautiful redhead named Jeannine Kim Mystic. Hello, Jeannine. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Theodora. I appreciate being on your show today. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, I am a mystic, which incorporates just about all the healing modalities one can imagine that I've been trained with and working with. I'm an intuitive, a medium, I'm a 5D astrologer, a yogi, a holistic health practitioner, a teacher, and an author. I've been working with clients for almost 24 years now, with worldwide, and loving every minute of it, but an intuitive my whole life. So, yeah.
Where do we even start?
Exactly.
Well,
anywhere.
Okay, so you're an intuitive. Have you always been an intuitive?
I have since I was a young girl. However, and you probably feel the same way, I would imagine. When you're born this way, the great news is if somebody can reflect that back to you, then you can embrace it really consciously. But growing up this way, 60s and 70s, it wasn't something that could really be shown to me back by anybody. And I remember instances that happened when I was a young girl where I would have a dream of somewhere, the night before my mother and I were going to, I remember one specific, and we get there and it's the visual of the whole house that I had dreamt the night before. And I remember my mother being very afraid when she saw it. She'd just listen to me babble in the back seat, and then she saw it and she just froze. I said, "But Mommy, it looks just like," and she froze. And in her defense, that would be a little, shocking, I'm sure, but she couldn't really reflect that back. And I perceived it as a young girl that wasn't a good thing to do. So I tucked it away. But years went by and, all these things would still happen. But I went out into the world and I got a job in the financial industry for a good 10, 11, 12 years. And on the side, secretly reading Shirley MacLaine books and Andrew Weil books and all these things about healing, Gary Zukav and spirituality. And little by little, I left that completely and took a total shift in my life and went straight into healing work.
So you made it a profession.
I did. I followed my heart. It was not easy, but it was the most true.
Tell us exactly what services you provide professionally.
Well, I love to do any type of one-on-one sessions with others, which include any type of astrology reading or intuitive reading or medium work. But I always bring with it practical learning, like practical measures that you could use. Like if I feel something intuitively, medically per se, or something else going on emotionally, all those bodies I address. So I do that in my individual sessions, but I also have mentoring, which is some of my favorite work that I do. And with that, I do a lot of past life work. So a lot of the trauma that you have in your life today, I get to the root of it, where it began in other lifetimes. And then we keep them there. We bring them up and out, but we organize them because I love organizing. So we organize it appropriately and we work with you, which is the medicine to that wound that happened then. And so those are the services that I provide. I love it. I love doing it.
How do you figure out what happened in a past lifetime?
Well, it's through the years of being this way and going to schools and being around people who could reflect it back, I learned that past life extraction, is what I like to call it, is one of my strongest gifts. It's one of my strongest suits. I almost can't not see it. Like I almost can't not see it on somebody. So what I do specifically is I go into every chakra. So, we have the 7 main chakras, and then I also use the Earth Star chakra, which is below the first, and the Soul Star chakra, which is above the 7th. So we go into all those, and each chakra has a different, how they are, a different aspect of our lives. And so I go into meditation with the person right there with me. We go in there together. We do a certain type of a clearing. We go in there and I let them kind of zone out. But we'll go into that first chakra and then it'll hit. And I ask specifically for the core wound around the theme of that chakra, and it all comes up. And I'll get the name of the person, the place that it happened. And then I ask why it happened. What were you meaning to learn in that life? And then I bring them home to themselves. I let that energy collapse. And from that place, we then go towards the masteries of what that birthed, what that suffering birthed. And then we go through integrations and whatnot. But it's fabulous. It's so powerful. It even blows my mind to witness it for people. It's really healing.
How long does it take to heal once this is discovered?
Right away, the energy shifts. As a healer, it's more about the witnessing of it. The moment it's witnessed, the energy is automatically shifted. And that whole suffering cycle is over. However, the way I like to describe it, it's like getting out of a pool. Like when I was a young girl, we had a pool and all my girlfriends and I, we'd make a whirlpool and then mom would call lunch, right? And we'd jump out of the pool, but the momentum is still spinning. It's still going around. So once that shifts, a big part of my mentoring program, I call it Into the Mystic. For all you Van Morrison fans, I know you probably know that song. It's one of my favorites. But my Into the Mystic, we do the extraction. And then a big part of this is integration. So it isn't just that I found it, but it's also that my clients get spiritual homework. They have to work with these past lives and use them as a tool. And then we take that and we integrate it into the struggles that they're going through their lives today, whatever those problems are, and we start to bridge those gaps and things start to close down. Everything starts to change, the way they look at it, and they become more quiet, more calm, more empty.
That is so fascinating. Now, this is a question you might be able to answer. Some people believe that we choose our families before we're born, and others say, no, that's nonsense.
I love that question. So the way I look at this, and this isn't just spirituality, it's also quantum physics. And if you look historically at the patterning, anything that was considered spiritual back then has since become, for the most part of our daily lives. Scientific meaning proven out, let's just say, on some level. Not everything, because of course some things are meant to be unknown per se. But when people say that, the way I like to see it is that everything is energy first. That's not just spirituality, it's quantum physics. Everything is energy first. And so in that, when the way I see it visually when I go into my meditations and whatnot is that when you're at the precipice of this life, there is a frequency, a whole frequency that is going to develop who you are. It's also going to show you who you've been and how you could take that even farther in this life, evolution. So our families, they are energetic mirrors to exactly what we need. And I could speak to this really personally because I was adopted, circa 1967. So I've gone deep on this, deep on this contemplation. Here I am, 1967, very different time. Being adopted was a shameful thing. My biological mother went away to a home for unwed mothers. They were only allowed out after dark because they were pregnant, and it was in Chicago. And anyway, so, I have the frequency of her and my biological father. And then I have the frequency of my family that I was raised with. Everybody's a little different, but the way I like to say it was like I tried like double majors in college. I figure, oh, why not? I'll just throw an extra one in. But when you really look at it, there's similarities there. And to take that one step further, when you look at a birth chart, you can account for all of it in your birth chart. I can account for the energy of my birth mother. I could see how I was adopted in my birth chart. I could see the family that raised me in my birth chart. So we chose it all.
How fascinating.
So fun, right? It's powerful. Owning that power is important as well, I feel. It's tricky, but it's empowering.
Were you adopted at birth?
I was given up at birth. Circa 1967, I believe what they did was you would stay in an adoption space, at least how I was adopted. I was adopted through the Cradle in Chicago, which is still there today. And they would hold you for a while. There were so many babies. Abortion was not legal. And so I believe I was there for, I want to say like 4 to 6 months is what I heard was the holding period. I believe I made it home before Christmas, and I'm born in July. So they held me there for a bit before I was taken home. Yeah.
People refer to working out past issues as karma. Is that a word that you use?
I do use karma. However, I don't see it so black and white as it's a negative thing. To me, it's just a consequence. It's just, nature doesn't necessarily charge things with good or bad. It's just the flip side of a coin. Same thing is like that South Node. Our karma is that we're a master at something. That's our karma, and that can come back to us as well. And so whatever we put out there is something that, it's going to come back that way. We could work out our traumas, but it could also be our dharma. If we're meant to grow, a dharma is a forward movement, right? And if we're meant to grow forward, there's going to be something that's uncomfortable about that because we're not masters at it. So that word could be interchangeable. You could feel the weight of already knowing something versus the weight of not have been there yet. But I usually don't like to put the tag good or bad on either, which is what a majority of people do.
What does your healing work offer that may be different?
What I love about my healing work is that I love to take the intuitive messaging that I receive and go to every single aspect of an individual. I'm trained in traditional Chinese medicine as a holistic health practitioner. And even if you look back in Ayurvedic medicine, which I don't have a certification on that, but I've been deep diving that for decades. And each of them work on the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical aspect of a being. I call them the big four. So when I approach an individual, yes, we can absolutely do, an intuitive reading on that day, look at the tarot cards, all that good stuff. But my responses always come through the lens of, is this helping you on a whole level? Not just like a little magic 8-ball and give you the answer that you need, even though I'm very good at that. I think that's super fun. But I love to work with the whole individual. And to me, that is the deep work that is different oftentimes than others.
You have a signature mentoring program. Tell us about that.
Sure. That is the Into the Mystic, which is the one I was mentioning before. And there's a couple ways to be with that program, where it says in there that if you want to learn how to be intuitive. And so when I approach that, what I like to tell my clients is that whether you want to like hang the shingle like I do, or you want to be intuitive for yourself. I have writers, I have people who work at computer companies, I have lawyers, I have all walks of life. But being intuitive doesn't necessarily mean doing what you and I do per se, just taking it that way. It's, are you a sovereign being? Can you hear these messages for yourself? So being intuitive with Into the Mystic is really an invitation on living a different type of life. And that Into the Mystic, the first part one is called clearing the container. So we clear the container of all the chakras with the past life extractions that we do and the integrative work, hands-on integrative work. And then the next part is embodying empty. And in that, we explore the other senses that you have in your system. And now that you have an empty space, how you can really tap that emptiness for your own well-being, for your own choices. And so, yeah, that is one of my all-time favorite mentoring programs that I have in my clients as well. She just turned 5, I believe, on April 28th. She's a Taurus with a Libra rising and a Pisces moon.
It's nice speaking the same language, isn't it?
Theodora, I knew you'd appreciate that. I snuck it in there for you.
Now, not everybody understands your language, do they?
No. Nope. No. Not yet. It's coming. Do you feel it?
How do the people in your personal life respond to you? Have you lost any people along your path?
I have lost many, 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 many. This is a courageous journey. For me, it has been, especially because it's interesting. I'm equipped with this gift, an H.H.P, which is a highly sensitive person, empath, and also intuitive. So it was so much easier to be with others when I was in the financial industry as an IPO trader. It was something that they could digest a little bit better. So I've lost family members, I've lost friends, I've gone through relationships left and right. And, it's funny because my wound is separation. I have that adoption separation wound. And I would love to do anything just to be accepted, really. But yet I have this gift. And so it almost feels like my soul set it up to, well, you want truth? What are you willing to do for that truth? Can you trust that truth? So it's been a hard journey, but that's the point of it, right? Like, what would we do to be so free in our own truth? And it was hard, but oh my goodness, the treasures when you get here, to walk around in every moment, not pushing something down, whatever your truth may be, you're just utterly free from the inside out. And that in alone, because we're all energy first, everyone you come in contact with, that is the healing medicine right there. You are being the change.
And you attract the right people then.
Yes. Yes, you do. Yes. Unobstructed. Yeah. You get it.
I have some amazing people in my life, who accept me for who I am. I'm a little woo and I'm a little kooky, but those people who want to be around me, they really appreciate me. All those other people, it doesn't matter.
Did you lose a lot of people as well?
I would say so. Not a lot, but I've attracted more people like me in, I would say, the last 10 years. They fill up my life, and I'm so grateful for them. And, more and more people are coming into my life, and we have the same beliefs.
Things are changing out there, wouldn't you say? Something's brewing.
It is. It is. Broom closets are flinging open, and we're coming out. So you were in the financial industry as a profession, and then you gave that up to do your business now, and you're so much happier.
So much happier. It's a quality existence. There's nothing I have to push down or deny or explain away within myself anymore. And when those pieces are pinched off inside of you, then any energy wanting to come at you is pinched off as well. It doesn't even have to be in the same topic. It doesn't even have to be in the same department of yourself. If you're pinched off somewhere in here, whatever you're wanting to come your way is going to be that limited energetically as well. And so, like you said earlier, I love when you said that, now that you're open and free, more come your way. And that is an absolute. And it's the quality over the quantity that I've really come to. It's a refinement of life, right? And I've come to be so humble with it and, gosh, just enjoy it so very much and appreciative of it. Yeah.
You are also an author of Dark Matters. Tell us about Dark Matters.
Yes, it is on its way out. And with your books, it takes a little while to those last phases to, you don't quite know when, but it's coming. So Dark Matters to me is basically the fundamental understanding that we are all energy first. And also, I like to say the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon are still both the moon. And so when we want to really get settled into ourselves, anything that we perceive as dark or we don't want to look at, maybe just go to the light. I'm one of these wild spiritual people that goes to the dark. I'm like, no, let's go to the dark first. Let's figure out what's in there because it's going to go with you. Wherever you go, there you are. So no matter how much you are, like with law of attraction, that's a thing. Like law of attraction is true. But what sometimes we forget about is that, what we think we draw to us, but what we are, we also draw to us. So we can imagine light stuff all we want, but the dark stuff is coming along for the ride and it's going to keep showing up until we deal with it. So my book speaks to the fundamental ways, the practical ways that we absolutely can meet these moments all the time. And that is also kind of like a precursor to my Into the Mystic as well, my basic mentoring program.
Who is your typical student in your mentoring program?
Someone who is ready to do the work, is ready to deeply transform. And what I mean by that specifically is that most of the people who end up in the Mystic they have tried everything else, done everything else. They have so many amazing tools to work with. They've done meditation, they've done yoga, they've done this, they've done that, but something isn't shifting quite yet. It almost feels like all these things are going on top of their life. So they come to Into the Mystic and I go to the underbelly. I'm like, okay, let's get to the underbelly of this. Just the subtle, nuanced, hidden bits that you don't see yet. We're going to work with those and pull them up by the roots. I put them all together by way of, again, the practical measures with my holistic training that I've learned or yoga or whatever I'm hearing for them. And those are the ones they are deeply ready to do the work. Even those people who've done ayahuasca journey work, they have actually said that my mystic program is similar to an ayahuasca journey minus the ayahuasca. It's pops you open, but then also grounds you. It just doesn't happen in a bubble. This is something that the people are really ready to work with.
Tell us about mystic magic.
Well, both of those words are just about trusting the unknown. I have a favorite quote that is coming to me when you said mystic magic. It's by John Muir and it says, "Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." And so mystical and magic, they are these words oftentimes I feel could be very loaded with our preconceived notions, but essentially it's just asking us to go into what we're yet to become and just surrender to it and move into something that's greater than what we're capable of so far.
Do you have a website where the listeners can find you and see what you have to offer them?
I do. It is JeannineKim.com. I'm also on Instagram, barely. I just started like 3 weeks ago because, coming out of that broom closet. And it's the mystic.Jeannine Kim. I built my business the old fashioned way. It was just word of mouth. Back then, we didn't have computers, right? So, they were there, but we didn't use them really for this. So, yeah, you can find me there.
I have an astrologer and a psychic that I see periodically, and neither of them have websites. It's just word of mouth, and they don't have a sign. No sign. You need an appointment, and usually they are booked several weeks in advance, and that's how you know they're good.
Yeah, I hear you. That's how I've been working for 20-some years.
So now that you are getting up to 2023, you do have a website, and I will put your website in the episode notes so that people can click on it, and they can also find you on Instagram.
Yes, awesome.
Is there anything else you would like to mention?
Empty and trust and know that we're more than we can see. I mean, right, Theodora? Isn't it just, there's so much more we can access when we trust that space, even just a little.
Yeah, that's important, is to trust it. Trust the journey. Trust the journey. Wherever it takes us, right?
Wherever it takes us. Absolutely. Yep.
I'm glad I found you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really exciting for me.
Thank you. It's exciting for you.
I've met some awesome people who've come on my podcast, and it's a fun journey in itself, meeting people like you.
I bet it is. And I can only imagine in so many other lifetimes, we probably weren't able to meet this way. We had to be kind of on the outskirts doing our own thing. And that to me is exciting, that we could all kind of just get together and get a little nod to each other and say hi. And I love it. So I so appreciate you knowing how to do this, because I don't even know how to do my phone. And thank goodness for my boys, my sons, but and for your platform and your willingness to come out, because it's scary. So hats off to you. Hats off to you. I love being here.
I'm in Texas. Where in the world are you?
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Oh, that's a cool place.
Yes, we're not far from each other.
Well, this has been lovely, and it's been wonderful meeting you. And perhaps after your book is out and published, we'll have to have you back on the show, and we can talk a little bit more about that and just dissect the book. What do you think?
I would love to. I would love to, Theodora, spend time with you. Absolutely. Thank you for that offer, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jeannine, the Mystic. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us for Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon. Have a burning question or have a topic you'd love Theodora and her guests to discuss on the show? Contact her through Instagram at Theodora Pendragon. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And help us spread the word by leaving us a rating and review and sharing it with your friends. See you next time, and may your magic always shine.